Emily and Jay were the kind of couple who loved quiet getaways. Just the two of them, far from the noise of the city. So, for Valentine's weekend, they booked a secluded cabin tucked deep in the snowy woods. No Wi-Fi, no phones, no neighbors, just them, a crackling fireplace, and a promise to be fully present with each other. The moment they arrived, it felt like something out of a romantic movie. The trees stood tall and silent, their branches heavy with fresh snow. Inside, the cabin was warm and inviting. Wooden beams, soft lighting, and the gentle pop of firewood burning. Jay poured the wine. Emily giggled at a cheesy toast. They sank into the couch together, grateful for the stillness. But as Jay stepped outside to bring in more firewood, something strange caught his eye. Right there, near the back door, was a single, muddy footprint. Just one. No trail leading in, no trail leading out. The snow all around it was untouched. He brushed it off with a laugh, assuming it must have been old, maybe from the caretaker. But something about the print bothered him. It looked fresh. And the cabin? It was supposed to have been empty for weeks. They decided not to think too much of it. After all, they were here for love, not ghost stories. But the cabin wasn't as empty as they thought. The next day, as the snow piled higher outside, Emily and Jay decided to explore the rest of the cabin. It wasn't very big, just a living room, small kitchen, and a hallway that led to a few doors. Most open to closets or spare rooms. But one door at the end of the hall stood out. It was bolted shut, not just locked, but secured with a thick, rusty bolt across the outside. Jay laughed, trying to lighten the mood. Maybe it's a panic room, he said with a wink, or a dungeon for bad guests. Emily didn't laugh. Something about that door made her feel watched. They left it alone. That night, the wind howled outside, rattling the old windows. Jay fell asleep easily, but Emily couldn't. She lay there in the dark, eyes open, listening to the crackle of the fire dying down. Then she heard it, breathing, faint, slow, just beyond the bolted door. She sat up, heart pounding, but said nothing. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe she was imagining it. The next morning, she crept down the hallway and stopped. The bolt was undone. The door, slightly open. A cold draft spilled from the gap. She pushed it open just enough to peek inside. There was no furniture, no light, just shadows. And at the far end of the room, a single dusty mirror facing the door. And for a moment, she thought she saw something move in the reflection. But when she looked again, there was nothing. Only herself. Alone, wasn't she? That evening, Emily decided to make dinner while Jay lit the fireplace again. The snow hadn't stopped all day, blanketing the cabin in white and muting the world outside. Inside, the warmth and glow felt almost magical. Almost. She set the table like always. 2 plates, 2 forks, 2 glasses. She poured 1 glass of wine for Jay and left hers empty. Then, she returned to the kitchen to finish preparing their meal. Maybe 3 minutes passed. When she came back to the table, with steaming bowls in hand, she froze. There were 3 glasses of wine, all filled. Jay looked up from the fire, smiling. "Oh, that? I think that's yours from earlier." But Emily hadn't poured hers yet. She knew that for sure. She didn't argue. She just sat down quietly and forced a smile, pretending everything was fine. That night, Jay slept deeply beside her, but Emily couldn't. Again, as the fire burned low and shadows stretched across the walls, she heard it. A whisper. Male. Horse. It came from the closet just a few feet from the bed. It wasn't loud, but it was clear. Still here. Emily held her breath. Jay didn't move, and neither did she. She kept her eyes wide open until morning. That night, Emily drifted into a restless sleep. In her dream, she felt weight pressing down at the end of the bed. When she looked, someone was sitting there, not moving, just watching her. She couldn't see his face, only a pale silhouette, still, silent. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. And then, she jolted awake, gasping. The room was quiet. Jay was snoring softly beside her, undisturbed. The fire had dimmed to glowing embers, but the blanket at the foot of the bed was creased, pressed down, like someone had just been there. Emily's heart pounded. She slid off the bed and tiptoed down the hall, barefoot on the cold floorboards. Her eyes drifted to the end of the hallway, where the locked door now sat slightly ajar again. She pushed it open. The room was silent. The mirror still hung on the far wall. Still nothing else inside. But as she stepped in and looked at her reflection, she froze. She saw herself, Jay behind her, and someone else, a third figure, tall, shadowed, standing right behind them, watching. The next morning, Jay was searching for extra blankets under the bed when his hand hit something hard. He pulled out a dusty, leather-bound book, old, with cracked edges, a guest book. Curious, he sat on the floor and began flipping through the entries. Most were harmless. Tourists writing things like, "Best weekend ever," or "Love this place. So cozy." But the last entry made him pause. It was dated February 14, 4 years ago. The handwriting was jagged, uneven. It read, "He watches couples, waits for one to look back." And beneath the writing, the ink bled into a deep red smear, as if something had dripped across the page. The signature? Illegible. Jay laughed nervously. Okay, that's gotta be a joke. Some horror fan couple having fun. But when he looked up, Emily was pale. She didn't laugh. She whispered, "What if it's not a joke?" Jay shrugged, trying to shake it off. But the words kept repeating in her mind. He watches. He waits. He's still here. The room was pitch black. No flicker of firelight. No hum of the heater. Just silence. Then knock, knock, knock. A sharp pounding at the front door jolted both Emily and Jay awake. The clock on the nightstand glowed red. 3:03 a.m. Jay sat up groggily. Probably an animal, a branch. But the knocks came again. Louder, slower. The fire was out. The cabin was cold. Unnaturally cold. Emily could see her breath in the dark. Jay grabbed a flashlight and crept toward the door. He hesitated, then yanked it open. Nothing, just snow, still, untouched. Emily, heart pounding, walked toward the hallway mirror, the one inside the locked room. She hadn't dared to look again since the last time, but now she had to. She stared at her reflection and saw 3 figures. Jay, herself, and him, the third figure, closer than before. And this time, he was smiling. Emily backed away, whispering, "We have to leave now." They packed quickly, threw on coats, and raced to the car. But when Jay turned the key, click, click, nothing. The car wouldn't start, and the snow began to fall harder. Emily slams the bathroom door shut, heart racing, fingers trembling as she locks it behind her. The cabin feels alive now, watching, waiting. She pulls out her phone. No bars, no Wi-Fi, just dead silence. She backs away from the door, clutching the phone like a weapon. Then, a fog creeps across the bathroom mirror. But the room is freezing. There's no reason it should fog. And yet, like breath from an invisible mouth, letters begin to form in the misted glass. Only one of you leaves. Emily stares, frozen in place. Then a scream from the living room. Jay. She unlocks the door and runs. There he is, standing alone in the center of the room, trembling, pale, eyes wide. She rushes to him. What happened? He looks at her, panicked. You were just here, talking to me, saying weird things. You were right in front of me. Emily shakes her head. No. I've been in the bathroom the whole time. Jay turns to the window. There are footprints in the snow, leading away from the cabin, but only one set. Morning arrives, heavy with silence. The snow glows pale outside the cabin windows, but Jay is gone. Emily calls for him. No answer. His coat still hangs by the door. His boots are gone, but the footprints in the snow? Only hers. Shaken, she gathers her things and leaves. The wind bites at her face as she trudges through the snow-covered path alone, boots crunching into the icy ground. Every step feels heavier than the last. Finally, she reaches the roadside, where a forest ranger's truck approaches. He rolls down the window. You all right? He asks, eyeing her with concern. She nods, barely able to speak. My boyfriend and I stayed in the cabin up there. Cabin 17. The ranger goes pale. You stayed where? Cabin 17, she repeats. He grips the wheel tighter, voice lowering. That place was sealed off years ago. After a couple disappeared, no one was supposed to be there. Emily's breath catches. The ranger finishes, almost whispering now. They only found one thing inside. He glances at her. eyes filled with something between fear and pity. A mirror and 3 wine glasses. Back in the ranger's office, Emily sits quietly, wrapped in a blanket, sipping warm coffee with shaking hands. She doesn't speak. She just stares. Across from her, hanging on the wall above the fireplace, is a dusty old mirror. And in that mirror, 2 reflections sit side by side. But Emily is sitting alone. And as the ranger steps out to make a call, the mirror fogs slightly. Words appear across the glass in breathy script. One always stays. Then, just for a second, a pale figure steps into view behind her, smiling, watching, waiting.